Your Honor, this one you cannot fix. This is bad character evidence that came in. The state should have prepared their witness. I move for a mistrial. This absolutely cannot be unheard by the jury. It was here, heard clear as day. Your Honor, I'm sorry. How many times has this man testified in a trial? How long has he been I know he's a retired investigator. How long has he been an investigator? He knows he is not supposed to say that, Your Honor.
I would find it...
Retired investigator Dennis going to return to the stand at some point. I'm not sure if your sanction would bar that as well.
Oh, no, he won't be returning.
Day 146 of the Young Thug YSL RICO trial was yet another disaster for the state. Detective Dennis makes a comment about Gotti being in and out of prison in front of the jury, which is bad character evidence. Weinstein then moves for a mistrial. Oh man, is today fireworks. Detective Dennis is terrible at testifying. You'll see examples from 5 months ago. He was also terrible then. He blurts out something he shouldn't have blurted out in front of the jury, and the judge makes a questionable decision. So yeah, you'll see. Hit subscribe. Join channel membership. Let's go, boys. All right, Detective Dennis up on the stand for like the third or fourth time. I don't know how they're allowed to just call people over and over, but whatever, dude. It's not like this trial is going to take a year and waste millions of dollars of taxpayers' money or anything, but...
Learned of the shootings that occurred after Donovan Thomas Jr. passed away. Did the gang unit or yourself immediately begin investigating those cases as retaliatory shootings?
Yes.
How did the gang unit recognize or realize that some of these shootings were in retaliation of the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Usually it was based on the victims of the shooting.
Were there homes that were shot at that were either family members or friends of Kenneth Copeland?
Yes.
We already know all this. We know Woody's I gotta use that as a thumbnail, bro. I gotta use that as a thumbnail. Let me screenshot this motherfucker's face real quick. That is 100% gonna be the thumbnail picture.
Microphone may not be working. Not yours.
The witness mic?
The witness mic.
You just
Thank
pull it closer to you.
No, it wasn't on. I don't know how I did, but
The addresses that were associated with those homes was at 193 and 197 Hendricks Avenue.
yes.
A home of Mr. Copeland's sister, 878 Oakland Drive, that was targeted as well.
Yes.
How did the fact that homes that were of the family members of Kenneth Copeland factor at all in your investigation after the investigation of those shootings after Donovan Thompson's murder?
I'm going to object as irrelevant at this point unless more foundation is laid.
Overruled.
Of individuals that you all associated with YSL members, their family's home being shot or targeted?
Yes. Immediately after the death of Donovan Thomas, there was a fake Instagram, I believe, page created, Death to Snake N-words. And from that, it was almost like a play-by-play of what was going on, or those associated with Mr. Thomas. They basically were sending threats and telling what the...
Yep.
Overruled.
Best evidence rule.
That's...
Evidence rule. Best evidence rule.
Oh, sorry. That's evidence.
Did you collect, or did you all collect some of those posts?
Yes.
Object to any hearsay in it. It's being used for the truth of the matter.
Your Honor, we're not offering any of the words in there for the truth of the matter, sir, to
Yeah, you are. They say all the time, but I guarantee they always end up doing it.
illustrate that was the post that was given.
I'll object to any of the words on the page except for the post. The death to snakes, if that's what the prosecutor's getting at. But any statement is being used for the truth of the matter, sir, and I object.
An individual by the name of Rayshawn Bennett come up as a part of your investigation?
Yes.
How did he come up as a part of your investigation?
At one point, his mother's house was shot up twice.
As you were investigating the case, did you ever speak with Quindarius Zachary about anything that could have happened at those two homes?
Yes.
And did you know anything about those shootings prior to speaking to Mr. Zachary?
Yes. The weapon that Mr. Zachary was caught with in May of 2015 was nibined back to the second shooting of Rayshawn Bennett's mother's house where she was shot.
So I'm pretty sure that's already come out in front of the jury. I don't know why we're still going over it, but the weapon was nibin hit back to that shooting.
And then on that same day was Trevante Turner shot on 1/26/2015.
Yes.
And Trevante Turner back in 2015, did he associate with YSL?
Yes.
60% of you aren't subscribed. Come on, hit the subscribe bell.
What was your reason for interviewing with Ms. Smith?
Her apartment was shot up on Springdale Road.
Do you know if she was the target of that shooting?
That would be hearsay and confrontation clause.
overruled.
Her residence was the target. I don't think necessarily her, but her residence was.
And based on your investigation, were you aware of anyone else staying at her residence during this time
Same
period?
objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Based on our interview of her, she explained that Ms.
That would be confrontation clause.
That would also be impeachment. Your Honor, Ms. Smith testified and denied who was in her home.
So prior
consistent statement.
Okay, overruled.
Mr. Watts was at her home during the shooting. She provided us a video of Mr. Sledge Montunk and Quindarius Zachary basically taunting Mr. Watts and their rivals.
January and June of 2015, did there ever come a period of time where the shootings slowed down between January and June?
March.
And to your knowledge, do you know if in March of 2015, Mr. Williams was on tour?
I was told of that, but yes.
And to your knowledge, do you know if any of the YSL members were on tour with Mr. Williams during that time?
I'm going to object to any hearsay.
That's actually funny. She's tying together them on tour to the shooting stopping.
In investigating the Dexter Montgomery shooting, it was told to us that that's...
Sustained. Sustained.
He's doing what he did 5 months ago. Guys, this guy sucks at testifying. Here's a clip from 5 months ago on day 73 of this trial, which is about half of what we've done today. We've only done 73 days in 5 months. Dennis is known to be terrible at testifying. And you're about to see clips from 5 months ago where he's also terrible. But this detective, I'm sorry, doesn't know how to testify. He keeps yapping about what other people are thinking every day.
But what did that have to do with him?
Because he knew he was the intended target. By the time we got to September, we are.
I need you to just answer. He knew he was the intended target.
All right.
Don't talk about the other stuff.
All right.
He's terrible. He does not know how to testify as a detective or an expert. This is an expert. Really, the state of Georgia, this qualifies as an expert? Like, let's be honest here. He's a detective. He knows how to solve crimes, but a gang expert?
He knew he was the intended target, so he.
Who?
Of If Gang. When her house was getting shot up, when police arrived on scene, it was a black Charger sitting in the driveway. Witnesses stated that
Don't say what anybody says.
What the fuck is he doing? Keep talking about what people said. I'm mind blown at how terrible he is at testifying.
there was a shooting at 322 Glen Street, and according to a witness, they were.
Without talking about what any.
Literally the 20th time today, he sucks. So that's from 5 months ago, where I pointed out he was terrible, still doing the same shit.
In your interview with Quindarius Zachary, did he talk about where the guns in the car was taken after the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. Where was that location?
Oak Drive, or whatever it is.
And was that your understanding of Kelvin Treadwell's home?
Yes.
Right. And is that the same location that became relevant as a part of the Dexter Montgomery shooting?
Yes.
And with the Dexter Montgomery shooting, was there a suspect and later someone arrested by the name of Demise McMullen?
Yes, Nard.
And did that same name come up as a part of the Donovan Thomas murder investigation?
Yes.
And in both the Dexter Montgomery shooting and the Donovan Thomas murder, was Mr. Nard suspected to be a shooter?
Yes.
Now, the Little Wayne bus shooting happened on April 26, 2015?
Yes.
Right. 2 days after that, on April 28, 2015, was there a series of shootings that occurred?
Yes.
Okay. What were the series of shootings that you investigated as a part of your investigation with this retaliatory shootings on April 28, 2015?
The 1428 Adele, 1903 Drew, and the Landrum Drive shooting.
Okay.
Demikian Garlington got jumped inside.
And based on your investigation, Demikian Garlington associate or member of YSL?
Yes.
Not Miss Hilton pulling out the marker, and the last time she did this, it was a shit show.
Was he able to identify people that he told you were involved in the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Yes.
And did you show him pictures to confirm who he was speaking of when you talked to him?
Yes.
Who did Mr. Zachary say was, and let me get more specific, those who actually were a part of the drive-by shooting?
Diamante Kendricks, a.k.a. Yak, Demise McMullen, a.k.a. Nard, Justin Cobb, a.k.a. Doo-Wop, and Shannon Stillwell Jackson, a.k.a. SB.
Who did Mr. Zachary identify that as?
Diamante Kendricks,
Okay.
Demise McMullen, Shannon Stillwell Jackson, Justin Cobb,
And did he have a nickname?
Doo-Wop,
Who did Mr. Zachary identify that as?
Jeffrey Young Thug Williams.
Okay. And is that the same picture that was on his driver's license?
Yes.
Quindarius identifying Thug. Oh, hell no. The audio's been cutting out today. This mugshot's funny of Woody for some reason. Like, he looks like why does he look like he's like 14? That's Demikian Garlington. Walter Murphy. There's no audio right now. But every time they show the computer screen, the audio cuts out today. So that's very annoying.
What, if any, significance did 1428 Adele Avenue have in your investigation?
That was the home of Darren Mills, Philo's brother.
The state's just trying to connect all these shootings. Depends on how the jury sees this, if it's confusing or not, and if they believe it, straight up.
And so after Demikian gets beat up, then you have the call for the shooting at Adele?
Yes.
Overruled.
Is Darren Mills an If Gang member?
Yes.
This shooting, do you get the call for the Landrum?
Yes.
And Trevante is associated with YSL?
Yes.
And then after the shooting at Landrum, then you get the call for the 1903 Drew?
Yes.
And Philo, what gang is he associated with?
If Gang.
Was that the definition of the type of retaliatory shootings you were getting in 2015?
Yes.
And was that the nature of the back and forth from January of 2015 to about September, October of 2015?
Yes.
And as law enforcement, were you investigating both sides of this war that was going back and forth?
Yes.
Were you only targeting YSL?
No.
Were you only targeting If Gang?
We targeted gang members and violence.
October of 2015, that you had the occasion to interview Mr. Diamante Kendrick.
Yes.
You're about to view a video, and the fight or whatever it is that the witnesses testifying about occurred at a place that is a strip club. And so while that is not why the video is being shown, you're going to see some images that
He started giggling.
I see at a strip club. So be prepared.
We got a strip club warning from the judge here of Duke getting jumped in the strip club. Here we go. Oh wait, they're actually showing titties on here. I was unaware they're going to show bare titties.
In this first video, you're going to see an individual walk right to here. Mr. Arnold is right there, and the video will pretty much do it. Yes.
We have to blur these titties. So I might have to blur that fight, but yeah, just looks like someone walked up to Duke and swung on him, like kind of snuck him a little bit.
Ms. Hilton, unless there's something to be gained from having the witness search through and find them, how about next time you just hand the January flyers to the witness?
But I think it is important, Your Honor, given the stack that was in there. It is irrelevant. It is.
Bro's been searching through these damn files for Miss Hilton. Jesus.
And how many were from January of 2015?
Just these two that's in my hand.
What's the first date in January that's on there?
January 18th in Tampa, Florida.
That's in Tampa, Florida. What's the other one?
January 21st in Santa Ana, California.
All right. So in Tampa, that's January 18th.
Yes.
Not January 11th?
No.
Not January 12th?
No.
13th?
No.
14th?
Nope.
15th? 16th? Did you see any flyers in that stack from any of those days?
No, ma'am.
Any flyers from that stack in Miami, Florida?
No.
So she's trying to shit on the narrative that they were down in Miami for a show for Thug after the murder of Donovan Thomas, which was on January 10th.
And as a part of your investigation, did Quindarius Zachary tell you that they went to Miami because Mr. Williams had a show in Miami or
No.
performance in Miami?
No.
What did he tell you why they went?
To get away from everything that was going on.
Did anyone ever mention to you shows in Miami?
No.
Miss Hilton kind of cooking today, actually fighting some of the defense lawyers and not showing irrelevant bullshit. All depends on how the jury sees it, though.
What's the distance between Miami and Tampa?
That's about a good 6 to 7 hour drive, maybe.
He just say Miami to Tampa is 6 or 7 hours. I mean, I've never lived in Florida, but I know that shit's probably like, I don't know, 4 hours or something.
Bobby Hardy, Jamal Ward, and Kelvin Watts, were any of them not actually indicted for that offense?
Kelvin Watts was not indicted.
And are any of them affiliated with the gang?
All of them are associated with IF gang.
Getting out in front of the jury that Shannon was shot at by IF gang members.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you heard yesterday, and maybe prior to that as well, sometimes evidence is admitted against some parties and not others, or for some counts and not others. And when this happens, the evidence can be considered by you, the jury, only as to the party against whom it's offered and only for the count for which it's offered and not against any other defendant or for any other count or purpose. In the next part of the testimony of this witness, you're going to hear about a statement made by defendant Diamante Kendrick. You may consider that statement only against Mr. Kendrick and only as to count one. You may not consider this statement as to any other count, and you may not consider it in any way at all in determining the guilt or innocence of any other defendant in this case besides Mr. Kendrick.
Does the jury have to put down a note every time this happens? Like, oh, I gotta remember I can't consider this against anyone else besides Kendrick. This has happened so many times. This trial is such a disaster.
And specifically, did you speak with him about a fight that happened at Club Crucial after Kenneth Copeland was beat up at Club Crucial?
Yes.
And was that fight somewhere around January 6th of 2015?
Yes.
We've heard about Woody getting jumped so many times a few days before Donovan getting killed.
Did he talk about his involvement in fighting an individual by the name of Bloody J?
Yes.
What did he tell you about his involvement in fighting Bloody J?
Yak was in there fighting Bloody J for Woody.
When they got outside, he was the one that punched Bloody J.
And again, this is all after Kenneth Copeland was beat up inside of the club.
Correct.
The tension or conflict he had with Rich Homie Quan.
He spoke about he had went to a club, don't remember the exact date, and when he walked in, he saw Rich Homie Quan, and Rich Homie Quan, cousin or something, no one said nothing to him when he walked in, and then once he got to a certain area, he spoke of how Rich Homie Quan began pointing at him, and his cousin or something had pulled him to the side and basically said, don't do that, Yak, don't do that. And he basically explained that he was just there, but he could see how everyone was kind of positioning themselves, and initially he wanted to leave, but he didn't want to look like he was basically scared or something, so he stayed. But it was basically tension in there.
Was this before or after January 10th, 2015?
This was after.
The incident that he was telling me about was after?
Yes.
When you spoke with Mr. Kendrick, did he acknowledge a beef between YSL and IF gang?
Yes.
Did he ever speak with you about his desire or wanting to be a member of the Bloods?
Yes. Moving on past that, as the music was starting to take off, and he basically indicated that he felt like he was a nobody. He didn't respect the gang culture of having leaders or different stuff like that, and he basically said he deemed himself a Blood, so he started being a Blood. He basically told us how he was filming a video that day, and it kind of fell through, and he got high, had some lean, and was kind of having a bad day, and then his friend Duke called him, basically telling him that they just jumped me. And he was like, pull up on me. And so they met up somewhere.
But hold on, you saying pull up on me. What does that mean?
Meet me somewhere. And basically they met somewhere. He felt like it wasn't his beef, but he's almost coming to the aid of his friend. And so they came up with the idea of going to retaliate.
When they were stopped, where were they stopped? Where did they see the police at initially?
Trestle Tree Apartments.
What's the significance of Trestle Tree Apartments?
Trestle Tree is a strong, like a main hangout for Kelvin Watts and IF gang members.
Okay.
So yeah, Gotti was telling the feds all this? This is Trestle Tree Apartments, where IF gang members chill at. There's no audio right now. I don't know why they haven't fixed that yet, but...
They made it to Trestle Tree, but there was a large police presence, and so they attempted to leave Trestle Tree, and according to Mr. Kendricks, he didn't know his way around over there, and so they had to make a U-turn. When they made the U-turn, that alerted police, and that's how the chase initiated or started. Initially, he spoke about he had just purchased the stick, which would be the long gun, and then he was the driver. And so the handgun, I believe, was found in the driver's area.
Interview, did you speak with him about the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Yes.
And I'm asking specifically, did he ever tell you whether or not he can remember where he was on the night that Donovan Thomas was murdered?
I believe he did.
Do you remember where he said he was?
I don't. I think he said he was at his girlfriend's house.
Remember, they say Yak was in the car, so.
Did it appear as if Kenneth Copeland was the target of YFN in the early months of January 2015?
Yes.
At any point, did it appear that target shifted to anyone else?
And speculation.
Sustained.
Has music ever become part of your investigations?
Yes.
Tell the jury, how does music become a part of your investigations?
In gang culture and in rap music, a lot of times some of the artists either highlight, taunt, or humiliate their opposition through.
Are you allowed to talk about lyrics?
It's part entertainment, but from the position of an investigator.
I'm going to object from the position of investigator.
Well,
This is not relevant from the position of investigator to go to what the jury is hearing about the allegations.
Speak as your expertise as a gang expert.
You want me to repeat what I just?
No.
Your Honor, I'm also going to object. This is outside of his expertise as a gang expert. Now we're talking about musicology and lyrics, and that is outside his expertise.
Overruled.
As a gang expert, tell the jury how music can sometimes be involved in gang culture and rap, and how those two can coincide.
In gang culture and rap music is sometimes used to taunt, humiliate, and highlight some of their actions or to humiliate their opposition. It's almost as if no one knows about it, then it didn't happen. So it's an opportunity to showcase what we did or to highlight what we
Objection
did.
on commenting on someone's intent, Your Honor. 704.
Sustained.
He sucks at testifying.
For example, the song Get It Back in Blood. Get It Back in Blood is basically celebrating retaliation, illustrating to anybody that I'm gonna get it back in blood. You do something to me, I'm gonna retaliate to get it back in blood. And it basically spells it out in the song.
And as a law enforcement officer, or a gang investigator specifically, when you're doing your investigation, do you look for music and then start your investigation, or are you investigating crime?
Action asked and answered previously.
Well, I don't know the answer to that because I wasn't here when he testified previously.
Talking about the Pooh Shiesty song, Back in Blood. It's not Get It Back in Blood, but whatever. And there's another issue of how this judge hasn't been here for his testimony, so how did she rule on this?
Recall specifically, that's what I say. I can't recall if he specifically talked about it. I don't recall.
Do you recall whether you already talked about this?
Judge, I've been here 3 times. I don't. I'm trying to keep up myself.
Okay, well, yeah.
And through our investigation, all things are on the table. My job, when I work
To what his job is, Your Honor, this is not appropriate.
Sustained.
Okay. Always humiliate, taunt, and highlight, or could it be portions of the song that humiliate, taunt, and highlight?
just a portion. It might be a subliminal message, a small snippet.
704, Your Honor. It's the same thing, the intent.
Overruled.
And talk to the jury a little bit about subliminal messaging and how that can, what that looks like in a song.
Beyond expertise. We never had a DOUBERT hearing on
Yes,
this.
Your
Not on
Honor,
this.
I have the DOUBERT order.
All right, we may have to take either a break or approach.
So state's saying they have had a DOUBERT hearing on this. Defense is saying he's not qualified, basically, to talk about this shit.
In this song, this is said. This lyric is said. That's what I believe the lyric is. That's the lyric in this song.
Right.
That's it. Now we're getting into, we're sending messages.
No, we're not going to.
I understand. That's what I was objecting
She's not right. And so, is there any other objection to him being able to testify about using lyrics in his investigations, in his opinion, which is only his opinion, as to what significance that has to his investigations?
Well, I'm not waiving my objections because I've objected to it, but that's what I believed was going to be testified to. But just that
Understood, but I'm
limited
asking,
amount.
it seemed at the bench that some people were maybe saying, we don't believe that he was ever qualified as an expert to be able to testify to any extent about lyrics. If I'm just misunderstanding, then please correct me, but we don't need to find the hearing transcript and sort it out if y'all aren't maintaining that.
I don't think you're incorrect. I think you're correct. That's what we said at the
Okay.
Remember what Yak and Doug are talking about here.
Do you recall the DONOVAN hearing
November.
involving you
Yes.
in this case?
Yes.
Do you remember whether you testified to your expertise and experience in terms of looking at lyrics and songs and using those in your
Yes.
gang investigations?
Yes.
Okay. Given that, anybody want to voir dire him on that topic, not his expertise?
Hold on, we just gonna take his word? That's her final decision?
rap lyrics as relates to his expertise in gangs. Not whether or not he's familiar with communication patterns of gangs, but specifically whether he can look at a particular rap lyric and make any interpretation about what that means to the gangs, specifically in regards to this case.
Is that something that was already covered in the DONOVAN hearing?
Yes.
All right, we're not going to recover it. I mean, I don't have any reason to not believe this witness.
All right, whatever, dude.
Music sometimes come up in your investigations.
Yes.
How did it come up in your investigations?
A lot of rappers participate in gangs, and so it often came up.
And as an expert, when you said a lot of gang members rap, do gangs in your experience use music in order to promote their gangs?
Yes.
Do they also use music and sometimes to promote fear and violence in their music?
Yes.
I think it's, if you could focus more on what his training and experience with regard to that is.
Sure. You tell the
Investigating the music, we were investigating the crime and the music came up, or someone made us aware of a song that referenced something in reference to the crime in which we was investigating. Use movies, music, and show through entertainment how in the African American community they can be brainwashed through entertainment, and how gangs has been pushed on the African American community through entertainment. I think I referenced last time the movies Boys in the Hood, Minister Society. I didn't know what a Blood or a Crip was until I saw Colors. All of that is through entertainment. Same thing with music.
what were some of the songs that you used as a part of your presentation?
Part of my presentation.
I'm more interested in his own training than his teaching other people. I mean, I get that he must have had something that from which he could then teach other people, but we're skipping that part.
So again, over the course of your tenure, you said you maybe had about 75 to 100% of your cases are with, may have had some type of music involved in your investigation. Have you had you yourself trained specifically on how music can be a part of your gang investigations?
I took every gang class that they offered us. We took gang training through Gypstick. We took training in other jurisdictions. We took whatever gang training was offered in an effort to learn trends, music or what have you. We also had monthly meetings with other departments, and we also information shared about music, gang trends, and different things, because a lot of times something that was happening in Atlanta.
You've given a presentation about gangs, but I'm asking you about gangs and specifically rap music and rap lyrics as it relates to gangs. What is this presentation that you've given, and are there any literature, is there literature or any material that you have that you can share with us that you've used in this presentation?
I don't have the presentation with me, but in the presentation, it's my own accumulation of entertainment, music, and presenting. I present to kids, I present to adults and other cops, and educating them in the gang unit. A lot of officers don't understand what's happening right before their eyes, and so for myself, I was tasked with educating not only our department but other departments when I worked for the ATF, them as well as students about this information.
What literature specifically have you used to educate either yourself or other investigators in regards to the relationship to rap and rap lyrics to gangs?
You mean, when you say literature, you mean like books, or are you talking about magazines?
I'm talking about books, I'm talking about learned treatises, I'm talking about studies, anything like
Training
that?
materials.
None of it.
None.
Magazines, we might use any hip-hop magazine or different examples that's in a magazine might be something that we are able to reference because of the wording or something like that. When you reference books, I've read different gang books from other officers. I've read a book out of Compton. I think it's A Lonely Day in Compton or something, and it was written by gang detectives out of Compton, because a lot of gang, they were privy to a lot more information than we were in their own work over the years.
Right, and what specific information, here's what I'm trying to get to, Detective. I'm really not trying to trick you or anything. But I want to know specifically, is there a book, is there a training manual that specifically deals with rap lyrics as it relates to gangs?
No.
Okay. The words my own background is used to decipher this information. You talk about movies. So are we talking simply about you looking at the movie Minister Society?
Yes, I think, yes.
Right, looking at the movie Boys in the Hood?
Yes.
And you're saying that that is what you have used to form your expertise in regards to rap lyrics and the relationship between rap lyrics and gangs?
What I'm saying is, based on my own upbringing.
Adam's trying to point out that he's using entertainment for all this, which could be obviously fabricated and all that, but
Education, my own training, as well as watching these said movies is where I formulated my opinion.
Have there, other than what you yourself have experienced in your own personal life, right, have there been any, for example, instructors, professors, or anyone else who have taught you using material or lesson plan in regards to the relationship between rap lyrics and gang? No?
No.
All right.
How does that intersect with what you know about gangs?
What,
The music and the lyrics.
from listening, I'm a rap fan myself, and from listening to music and watching movies, videos, YouTube, I'm able to understand what is being said and what is being expressed. It's just like watching anything. I can understand it. And by me being a gang investigator, a regular person might listen and think it's art.
what do y'all think, boys? Is he qualified?
But for myself, with my education and my background and investigating gangs for a number of years, I'm able to understand exactly the message that's being, I understand when someone says, I caught somebody down bad. To you, you may look at that and say, oh, they caught somebody down bad. But for me, that means you caught somebody and you were able to hurt them, kill them, or what have you. So I'm able to decipher what is being said. A regular lay person does not understand that. They look at it as just art or a lyric in a song.
Once again, I'm satisfied that based on his training and experience, he can testify as an expert as to maybe a double meaning within rap lyrics.
She's tripping. I don't see it. I don't know about y'all, but I'm trying to be not biased here, but I do not see it.
It's obviously ultimately going to be for the jury to determine whether they,
And
believe and accept as credible anything he or any other witness says. Yes, sir.
And Your Honor, that's my issue. I understand the court's ruling. I just ask you to consider what he has testified to. He has no specialized knowledge beyond the ken of any layperson. I understand his saying that what he grew up around. I grew up in Brooklyn too, and maybe there are members of the jury who have the same experience, life experiences as him, but that's not what the purpose of
I understand. I'm not basing it just on where he grew up. It's his training and experience as a gang investigator.
But specifically in regard to the interpretation of rap and rap lyrics as it relates to gangs, he has not given the court any information whatsoever to indicate that he has any specialized knowledge that will qualify him as an expert, such that his opinion could go to the jury for them to look at him as an expert in that field. None whatsoever. And I'd maintain my objection. I'd ask that he not be qualified in that particular area.
All right, I understand, and your objection is overruled. I mean, this just happens to be words that are set to a beat. It's no different.
What a disaster. I do not agree with that, Judge Whitaker. All right, so there's no audio when they're showing the computer, but it says, welcome to Bloody Paradise, I think. And Shannon Stillwell, right? And that's Gotti and Shannon, right? Dripping through Cali with some real N-words, slat. Bro, the audio keeps cutting out. It's Gotti on top of wife and Lucci's car, right? At a mall. Like he saw his car outside of the mall, I think, and stood on top of it. Oh my God, something happened when the audio went out. Now they're approaching. Oh boy, Weinstein has something to say.
Your Honor, this one you cannot fix. This is bad character evidence that came in. The state should have prepared their witness. I move for a mistrial. This absolutely cannot be unheard by the jury. It was heard clear as day in his deep, sonorous voice. They have heard it. They have absorbed it. It cannot be fixed. 404A, Your Honor.
What did Dennis's dumbass say? I told you he doesn't know how to testify, dude. He said something bad about Gotti.
Whatever response the state might be able to make on that.
Your Honor, that was not the state's intention.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Your Honor, that response didn't even come across my mind that would even have come out of our witness's mouth, Your Honor.
Now the state shitting on him, like, I don't know why the f he was yapping. What did he say?
The state's intention was to solely talk about the vehicle that he was standing on and the fact that he was standing on that vehicle. If you can just give us an opportunity just to look at some case law just to see if
Your Honor, I'm sorry. How many times has this man testified in a trial? How long has he been I know he's a retired investigator. How long has he been an investigator? He knows he is not supposed to say that, Your Honor.
I would find it.
Doug is pissed. So apparently he said something about Gotti being in and out of prison, which is obviously bad character evidence. Why would he say that about him being on top of a car?
Surprising if he isn't aware that that's not supposed to come out. I do not believe that the state intended to elicit that, and I think that you actually yourself acknowledged up here at the bench that you don't believe that was the state's intention.
I do not believe it was their
intention. Nonetheless, it happened. I'm going to give y'all about 15 minutes or so to find whatever you might be able to find.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you.
Every day this trial, if someone's convicted, it's going to get overturned in appeal. I promise you.
Yes, Your Honor. The state will ask that you deny defendant's motion for a mistrial. The state would like to cite the court to Swims v. State. The fact that came out during that testimony would not be substantially more prejudicial, Your Honor, given that, one, the jury has heard this indictment, and as well as this evidence will come out, at least that he was convicted, because we have to prove that portion of the indictment, Your Honor. So we would ask that the court deny his motion.
All right.
And we have instructed our witness. Okay, so as well.
Doug's about to pop off. Here's some more.
In the Swims case cited by the state, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe that was a seasoned officer that testified about the bad character. Is that correct?
I don't know if it was
Yeah, no, I looked. It's not.
It's
It
an
was a
inmate,
fellow
right?
inmate.
And I think there's a distinction between a fellow inmate and an officer with decades of experience.
There's 100. He's the lead detective. He's one of the state's most important witnesses in the entire trial. He's been here 4 times.
I mean, I think if you go back and look at Posey v. State, which you may have already looked at, seasoned officer testified about bad character of a defendant. The court in that case called for, there should have been a mistrial. It says that when it's impossible for the trial court by corrective instruction to rectify the harm done by improper testimony, a mistrial must be granted. The issue here is you have a seasoned officer, someone with years of experience testifying. And in Posey, there's really very instructive language from our courts where they say, we reiterate here. I'm sorry, I'm talking too fast.
And too loudly.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to tone it down. We reiterate here what we said in Boyd. It may well be argued
Yak's laughing.
that peace officers are not always well acquainted with our rules of evidence, and that statements such as the one here are merely inadvertent. I'm going to stop the quote for a second to say something, which is, again, here we have a peace officer, here we have an investigator who is well seasoned. The quote continues, but if we refuse to reverse this judgment, then we provide no incentive to district attorneys and solicitors to counsel their witnesses, especially law enforcement officers, to avoid extraneous and inadmissible outbursts. It is high time that this court go on record as opposing without reservation such conduct by law enforcement officers. Posey is exactly on point. Posey calls for a mistrial. This officer should have known better. The state should have properly prepared the witness to not issue, to not blurt out, to not state so clearly that my client was just getting out of prison. It cannot be corrected, Your Honor.
All right. Any last words by the state? Well, actually, never mind. It's the defense's motion, so y'all don't get any last words. I am finding that this was not intentionally elicited on the part of the state. However, I also am finding that this witness as a law enforcement officer should have known better than to make any mention of it. It is, however, significant that one of the charges against Mr. Kendrick in this indictment is that he is a convicted felon. Were it not for that, I would grant the mistrial motion. But given that the jury already knows that he's been convicted and is a convicted felon anyway, even without this testimony, I don't think that a mistrial is warranted. I am, however, going to give a curative instruction, and as a sanction for this having occurred, that's the end of the testimony from this witness. There's going to be no more testimony from him. So,
Oh, big L for the state. No more Detective Dennis, and I'm sure they're going to call him back again. He f***ed up, boys. The state is so lucky that it's already known that Yak's a convicted felon, because this would have been a mistrial otherwise. This is such a huge W for the defense, because they were actually connecting a few shootings with him today. I even said, I was like, Miss Hilton's kind of cooking today. All of that's going to be stricken. Jury can't consider any of it.
I would also then, because we didn't have the opportunity to cross-examine, so it would be a confrontation clause. It would be reversible error. So I'm moving.
let me ask you this. Have y'all cross-examined him the
Yes.
2 times before?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to strike everything
Yes,
he
that's
said
what I was-
today.
And
All right.
the notes, just like you did before, all the notes have to go back, give them to the court if you don't mind, put them under seal.
My question was broad.
It's not your fault.
And I understand that, but Your Honor, the testimony that was given today, this was a one-time infraction, Your Honor. And we would just ask, we can understand that if his testimony, if the state no longer
Sit down, Miss Hilton.
question him, we would ask that all of his testimony from today is not stricken because of one mistake. Like, this was one mistake that he made, Your Honor. We would stop our questioning of him, allow the defense to cross him on what has come out now. But all of the information that he's provided this far, he has been careful. He has not said anything today that was even remotely close to what happened here right now. I believe it was a mistake on his part. Maybe as a state, I should have instructed clearer, and I will take that responsibility, Your Honor. But given that this was one moment in time, the state is going to ask that we will stop questioning. If that's the sanction that the state has to stop questioning him, Your Honor, we will take that sanction and ask that the defense be allowed to cross him, and that we be not allowed to direct him, and that's fine, but not that his entire testimony from today be struck, Your Honor, given that that was one mistake that he made very short in time, Your Honor.
All right,
We would just
understood.
ask that.
Do I need to respond to that, Your Honor?
You don't
Okay.
need to.
Thank you.
Yes.
I did not mention it, but also all the exhibits admitted through this gentleman need to be taken back under seal as well and disregarded by the jury, please.
This trial can't get any worse for the prosecution. It can't. It's just not possible. This isn't real.
Retired investigator Dennis going to return to the stand at some point. I'm not sure if the state had planned on that or not, or if your sanction would bar that as well.
Oh, no, he won't be returning.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted that clarified.
Oh, it's over, boys. Their lead detective just got
Unless you'd like for me to have him come back and admonish him. But I'm not going to do it in front of the jury because I don't think we need to highlight it further. Okay. I kind of would like to tell him he should have known better, though. Y'all can just relay that.
The judge is kind of annoyed. She's like, I kind of wish I could have told him off. This is insane, dude. This is Officer Rogers, who was shot by Christian Eppinger, or YSL Big Briss, who's an absolute savage, and shot this guy, and he survived. I think he shot him like 6 times or 2, so I don't know how he survived. And he was shot in the back of the head, and this is all on body cam. We're going to see it.
We were told black jacket, white pants. I believe it was an orange hoodie. Tried to pull ahead of Mr. Eppinger, get out. I gave him commands, advising him that he did have paper. Also, told him he had warrants. He kind of looked at me, looked past me, proceeded to walk past me. At this time, I'm traveling behind Mr. Eppinger. I go to put hands on him, start to pull on him and things of that nature. And as I'm pulling on him, trying to grab him, I kind of started to look over my shoulder, trying to locate my partner, because Mr. Eppinger at the time was non-compliant, still walking, still kind of doing what he was doing. And when my partner wasn't there at that time, I chose to transition from lethal force and downgraded to my taser. Went to go tase Mr. Eppinger, but when I went to go access my taser, I couldn't drop the hood. I didn't drop the hood, and so when I turned my body to access it with my right hand is when I started feeling these shots.
Decide to switch from your gun to your taser.
Just the sheer size of him. I knew I wasn't going to be able to overpower him, but at the time he didn't have anything in his hands, and so I felt it necessary to transition.
Okay. And so when you went to go transition to your taser, were you able to draw your taser out?
No, ma'am. I stumbled with my taser, with my left hand, at which time I reached over with my right, and at that point he had flanked me and started to fire upon me. My body was kind of beginning to shut down, probably from the blood loss. I don't know.
Okay.
I remember after looking at him, I remember turning away. I feel like I took a knee. I might have even laid on my face. I sat there for a minute. I gathered myself. I got on radio, let radio know I was shot. And then at that point, Investigator Johnson came over to render aid. He pulled me around the corner. We kind of had a talk and a discussion, and I just requested to be put in one of the UC cars, and we made our way to Grady.
And so you said you were talking. Were you alert at the time after being shot?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you eventually make it to Grady?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were the injuries that you had as a result of the shooting?
Well, I was informed that I was shot 6 times, once to the back of the head, 4 to the back of the right shoulder, and 1 to the back of the right leg.
Briss is a goddamn savage. He also robbed a mother at gunpoint in front of her child. But was it for YSL as a gang? Or was this guy just a savage doing this for himself? I think it's the second one. Why would he do all that for YSL? Like, it's such a ridiculous assertion. Christian shouldn't get out of jail. Like, let me make that very clear. And I think he already has life in prison. I'm pretty sure. So he's like Lil Rod. They're already convicted. Was this for YSL? I don't think it was for YSL. And the defense lawyers are going to try to separate it.
Yes, ma'am. Their profile looks similar to his.
And I want to zoom in on 18V. Are you able to see what is depicted on the side of his face?
No, ma'am. I'm not able to make that out.
Okay.
So he's trying to pull out the YSL tattoo. I hit him. Shit. Okay, so this is Roger's POV here.
On the ground, on the ground, on the ground, right here, on the ground, on the ground,
Christian Eppinger is a goddamn savage. This motherfucker can't get out of jail. That is insane. Got to blur that. Another witness testifying about the situation.
As a part of the gang unit, were you ever familiar with the gang YSL or Young Slime Life?
Yes.
Right. And specifically, within the unit, were you ever familiar with an individual by the name of Christian Eppinger?
Yes.
And are you in that black vehicle?
Yes.
And was that you ducking?
Yes.
And based on some of your training, did you learn how gang members will try to increase their status within the gang?
Yes.
And what are some of those ways that gang members...
I'm going to object again. Calls for expert testimony. He's not been qualified. We've not been given notice of any such. And so I would object to him being allowed to answer any of these questions.
She's trying to say he was increasing the notoriety of YSL by shooting a cop. That's her assertion, which is just fucking stupid. This is a guy running from the police, trying not to get arrested because he knows he's a wanted man. And he's dumb enough to shoot a cop. That's what this is. It's nothing to do with YSL.
What are some of the ways that gang members increase their status within a gang?
Typically through violence and getting money through illicit means.
And when you say through violence, is shooting an act of violence?
Yes.
And specifically shooting at a cop, is that an act of violence?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
All right, any recross?
Are you suggesting by your testimony just now that Christian Eppinger, when he was about to be arrested by this officer, that he shot Officer Rogers to increase his status in the gang and to get money for the gang? Is that your testimony?
No.
Okay.
It's not either or it's not both. It could be either or. In this situation, I would say the violence isn't increasing your status in the gang.
Or it could be just someone who was trying to get away from the police, right?
Yeah, could be.
Exactly. It's a dude that's dumb enough to shoot a cop running from the police. That's what it is.
And in fact, I don't know Christian Eppinger. You don't know him either. You're not in his mind, are you?
No, I'm not in his mind.
Right. What you do know is that you see him in this parking lot. He's by himself, right? He's by himself, right?
Objection, ask and answer, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You asked about somebody named Durante Beebe.
Yes.
The picture that you were showing, the video, where was Durante Beebe in that video?
In the surveillance video, he wasn't in it.
He wasn't there, right?
No.
Okay. And so when you see Mr. Eppinger and he shoots, he runs by himself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Separating it from a YSL incident.
You hear him? Did you listen to the any of the videos, the body cameras, the dash cam, any of that?
No, I haven't had any audio.
Okay. While you were there and you saw this going on, you saw him trying to get away from Rogers and shooting at Rogers. You hear him shout out anything like, "Hey, this for YSL"?
No.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because he didn't do that, did he?
Well, it's ridiculous. I don't think anybody would shoot a cop and then say this is for YSL. That's not how this works.
Right. And what is also ridiculous is you trying to determine that he was doing something that day to increase his status or to get money, right?
I'm not
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
All right, that's pretty much it for day 146. Yet another terrible day for the state. It doesn't get any better for them. Their lead detective just shot himself in the foot. Comment down below what you guys think, how the jury's going to see all this. Hit subscribe. Love you guys. Peace out.